Before we start, I want you to tell me what you think about death and drama in D20 Fantasy. How do you think you can reconcile D20 Fantasy rules and the implicit assumptions in Heroic Fantasy that the heroes don't die? One of my former GMs is running for his group of friends now, and he told me that when his players die, they feel bad. And that's a problem for two reasons. The first one is if we play a game, especially D20 Fantasy, we want to have fun. So if something is happening that's making it so we don't have fun, that's bad. The second problem is that the whole drama of D20 Fantasy, which is a combat game, comes from the potential of death. Let's analyze this problem. I think the first question to ask is, what is drama? And we should know that drama is tension and resolution. Aha! What is tension? Tension has three components. It has objective, it has urgency, and it has stakes. So the objective is, will the hero be able to fill in the blank? The urgency is that this is something that cannot wait. The hero needs to do this now because what they are addressing is a ticking time bomb. The stakes is what would happen if the heroes fail in their quest. So just as an example to use, let's look at a heroic movie like Captain America and analyze the source of tension. If we look at a specific fight scene, of which there are many in those types of movies, the main objective is defeat the bad guys. So in this case, the question would be, will Captain America be able to defeat the bad guys? The second part is urgency, and in something like Captain America, it could be something like, will Captain America be able to defeat the bad guys before Red Skull gets away? And the third component is stakes. So in this case, it would be, will Captain America be able to defeat the bad guys before Red Skull gets away? Or will Captain America be killed and Red Skull will destroy the planet? When we are watching a movie like Captain America, our rational minds will tell us correctly that Captain America will not die in the first 30 minutes of the movie, or for that matter, for the entire duration of the movie. And that Red Skull will not destroy the world because Captain America will stop him because Captain America is a hero. So in this case, our dramatic question that starts with, will the heroes, is already answered for us. From the very beginning of the movie, we know that Captain America is not going to die, and Red Skull will be stopped because Captain America is going to stop him. But if we willingly suspend this belief, or if we suspend our disbelief, then we can still enjoy the movie. This is not a trick that the movie is playing on you. We willingly suspend our disbelief because we want to enjoy the movie. There is no conflict here. And you will find the same is true of D20 Fantasy. When the party goes into combat with a bunch of goblins, the tension is, will our heroes be able to defeat the goblins before they, say, sacrifice the blacksmith's daughter? Or will the heroes die trying? But in D20 Fantasy and in Captain America movies, we have the same implicit assumption of Heroic Fantasy that heroes don't die to random goons in the first 30 minutes. Or at all. And that in itself, and the willing suspension of disbelief, is not the source of conflict. The source of conflict is that D20 Fantasy doesn't handle this well in the rules, because in the rules, you can actually die to random goons if you have a bunch of unlucky rolls. So there is a discordance between the implicit assumptions of the genre and the rules of D20 Fantasy. How can we solve this problem in our game? I think the thing to do is to align yourself with the players when it comes to expectations. In other words, take the implicit assumptions and make them explicit. If everyone's expectation is that they are playing as Captain America-style heroes, I think it's fair for them to be upset when they die. In that case, you have to carefully curate your encounters to make sure players don't die when they're not supposed to. I know this sounds like evil metagaming, but I really don't think it is, because it's not a trick. Just like in the movies, players will willingly suspend their disbelief because they want to enjoy your game. But if everybody comes together and talks about it and says that actually they do expect to be able to die from random goons, just make sure that everybody actually agrees to that. Make sure that everybody enjoys that type of game. And that includes you. Make sure you enjoy running that type of game. Make sure to talk to your players beforehand. Another thing to consider is that even in games where players are not expected to die to random goons, there is the possibility that they might die to bosses. There are two ways to do this, and I think that one of these ways is better. The first way is to design your bosses to be deadly, and hope that when a death does happen, it is dramatic. The good thing is, it's kind of a hands-off approach. The bad thing is, you are hoping that the death is dramatic, but it might not be. The second option, which I prefer to do, and I have actually done before, is to conspire with the player that you're going to kill. and create a dramatic death. This is GDS from the editing room, and I'm realizing now that I didn't do a good job of explaining exactly what I mean by conspiring with a player. What I mean is going to one of your players, say the day before the session, and explaining to them that you have an encounter set up where their character can have an epic and heroic death. All they need to do is, when you say a certain code word, or when something very specific happens, they need to go all in and do something epic, but they will die. And then you ask them, are you in? And if not, that's fine. And if they are, game on. It creates a situation where everyone is happy, because players love conspiring with you, the GM, and take a little peek behind the screen. And everyone in the party gets an awesome, cool, dramatic death that they're not upset about. So those are some ways to solve the conflict between D20 fantasy rules and the expectations we have around heroic fantasy. I guess the question should be now, why is this all important? Death is just one instance of your game, but I think your game should be compelling in all instances. In other words, I think your game should always have drama. It should always have tension and resolution. Let's recall what tension is. Tension is an objective, urgency, and stakes. Will Captain America be able to defeat these enemies? Will he be able to defeat the enemies before Red Skull escapes and destroys the world? Or will he be defeated and ostensibly killed? So when you are planning different sections of your session, for example, different rooms, what I want you to do is write down at the top of the section notes the dramatic tension in that section. So I want you to write this down. Will the heroes be able to blank 1 before blank 2, or will blank 3? I want you to go to your session notes and do this right now. And if you're finding it difficult to fill in the blanks, it means that you need to add something into your section to generate tension. Usually, for me, I find that what's missing is urgency. Imagine Captain America needed to save the world, but they told him you got 20 years. Captain America might go get a burger, hang out with friends, and in the same way, when you run D20 Fantasy, a lack of urgency manifests as players getting stuck in one place for too long and not getting anything done. This happens because players are risk-averse and opportunistic, so they avoid danger, and they try to get the most out of every situation. So if a situation is safe, and especially if it might have some hidden benefits, and they can stay there forever, then they will stay there forever and try to discover hidden benefits, no matter how small they are. Keep in mind, this is not the fault of the players, it's just a symptom of the design of the game. And I'm not saying it's a problem either, it's just a fact about player behavior. How many times have your players stopped to loot every single goblin before moving on to the next room? Now imagine if instead their thinking was, if we stay here and look through the pockets of every single goblin, we might not make it in time to stop the ritual. So if there's always an opportunity cost to staying, they will have to decide what's important and what's not. So they won't get stuck in the small things that don't really matter. That's how adding urgency, and in this case stakes, will improve your section. Another possibility for lack of drama in your section is a lack of objective. The question is, what is the hero going to do? It is not really dramatic because there is no tension there. So you need to make sure that your players have an objective in each section of your session. Give your players an objective. Players like to be told what to do, just not how to do it. That's everything I have for today about death and drama in your games. I really think that doing the thing where you write down the dramatic question at the top of each section of your session is super useful. Ever since I started doing that, I never looked back. So we went over how to make sure your game is dramatic, and we went over what it means for your game to be dramatic. We also proposed some solutions for the conflict between the implicit assumptions of heroic fantasy and the rules of D20 fantasy. If you like this video, please take your face, and as always, smash it into the like button. I want you to hit your face against your monitor an odd number of times to make sure you like the video. Make sure to subscribe, nothing fancy to do here. If you like this type of discussion, we have a Discord, which is going to be in the nonsense below. Make sure to join it. And I'll see you in the next video.